Hello again. Welcome to Myths, Legends, Stories, and Tales with Lady Liadan. We've come inside because it's starting to get colder out. We're going to sit here right by the fire and we're going to read a story. Today, we're traveling to Germany. We're going to read Little Red Riding Hood by Paul Galdone. Once upon a time, there was a sweet little maiden who was loved by all who knew her. She was especially dear to her grandmother, who did not know how to make enough of the child. Once, she gave her a little red velvet cloak. It was so becoming, and she liked it so much that she would never wear anything else. So she got the name Little Red Riding Hood. One day, her mother said to her, "Come here, Little Red Riding Hood. Take this cake and bottle of wine to grandmother. She is weak and ill, and they will do her some good. Go quickly before it gets too hot. Don't loiter along the way, nor run, or you will fall and break the bottle. There will be no wine, and there will be no wine for grandmother. When you get there, don't forget to say good morning prettily, without staring about you." "I will do just as you tell me, Mother," Little Red Riding Hood said. Her grandmother lived away in the wood, a good half-hour from the village. When she got to the wood, she met a wolf. But Little Red Riding Hood did not know what a wicked animal he was, so she was not a bit afraid of him. "Good morning, Little Red Riding Hood," he said. "Good morning, Wolf," she answered. "Whither away so early, Little Red Riding Hood?" "To grandmother's." "What have you got in your basket?" "Cake and wine. We baked yesterday, so I'm taking the cake to her. She wants something to make her well." "Where does your grandmother live, Little Red Riding Hood?" "A good quarter of an hour farther into the wood. Her house stands under 3 big oak trees, near the hedge of nut trees, which you must know," said Little Red Riding Hood. Do you think Little Red Riding Hood should have given him that information? Wolf thought, "This tender little creature will be a plump morsel. She will be much nicer than that old woman. I must be cunning and snap them both up." Wolf doesn't sound very nice. He walked along with Little Red Riding Hood for a while. Then he said, "Look at the pretty flowers, Little Red Riding Hood. Why don't you look about you?" What did her mother say? "I don't believe you even hear the birds sing. You're as solemn as if you were going to school. All else is so gay out here in the wood." Little Red Riding Hood raised her eyes, and when she saw the sunlight dancing through the trees and all the bright flowers, she thought, "I'm sure grandmother would be pleased if I took her a bunch of flowers. It's still quite early, and I shall have plenty of time to pick them." So she left the path and wandered off among the trees to pick flowers. Each time she picked one, she always saw another prettier one farther on. So she went deeper and deeper into the trees. What did her mother tell her not to do? In the meantime, the wolf went straight to the grandmother's cottage and knocked on the door. "Who's there?" "Little Red Riding Hood, bringing you cake and some wine. Open the door." "Lift the latch," called out the old woman. am too weak to get up." The wolf lifted the latch, and the door sprang open. He went straight in and up to the bed without saying a word, and ate up the poor woman. Then he put on her nightdress and cap and got into the bed and drew up the curtains. Oh, what's the wolf going to do? Little Red Riding Hood picked flowers till she could carry no more, and then she remembered her grandmother again. She was astonished when she got to the house to find the door already open. And when she entered the room, everything seemed strange. She felt quite frightened, but she did not know why. "Generally, I like coming to Grandmother's house," she thought. "Good morning, Grandmother," she cried, but she received no answer. Why do you think she received no answer? Who do you think is in the bed? Is it Grandmother? Then she went up to the bed and drew back the curtains. There lay her grandmother, but she had drawn her cap down around her face and looked very odd. "Who is that?" "Oh, Grandmother, what big ears you have," she said. "The better to hear you with, my dear." "Grandmother, what big eyes you have." "The better to see you with, my dear." "What big hands you have, Grandmother." "The better to catch hold of you with, my dear." "But, Grandmother, what big teeth you have." "The better to eat you with, my dear." Hardly had the wolf said this when he made a spring out of bed and swallowed poor little Red Riding Hood. Oh no! A huntsman went out past the house and thought, "How loudly the old lady is snoring. I must see if there is anything the matter with her. What a nice man." So he went into the house and up to the bed, where he found the wolf fast asleep. "Do I find you here, old sinner?" he said. "Long enough I have sought you." He raised his gun to shoot, when it occurred to him that perhaps the wolf had eaten up the old lady, and that she might still be saved. Somehow I doubt that. So he pulled the sleeping wolf's mouth wide open, and the first thing he saw was the little red cloak. The little girl sprang out and cried, "Oh, how frightened I was! It was so dark inside the wolf." Next, the old grandmother came, alive, but hardly able to breathe. The wolf awoke and tried to spring up, but he was so frightened by the sight of the hunter that he fell down dead. Oh no! Little Red Riding Hood and Grandmother are safe. Apparently, the wolf was scared of the huntsman. They were all quite happy now. The huntsman took the dead wolf home. The grandmother ate the cake and drank the wine that Little Red Riding Hood had brought, and she was soon feeling quite strong. Little Red Riding Hood thought to herself, "I will never wander off into the forest as long as I live, when my mother forbids it." Do you think she learned a lesson? The end. That's all the time we have for today. We'll see you next time.